Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody, and this is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 on Racing Show. Welcome to another night of race talk and whatever else we want to talk about. We missed last week. We had some stuff going on, but we're back. We're back in the saddle. We'll have some good stuff to talk about. And, you know, it's this past weekend at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl. This is one of the things that could not only chase away drivers, but it chases away fans as well. Sunday night at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl, they had a $5,000 to win SK-type modified event, which was won by Plainville, Connecticut's Ted Christopher. At least he was the first across the line. But the win was negated by TC being DQ'd, disqualified. Ryan Priest, the runner-up, second across the line, netted the $5,000 after the DQ. And what was the issue? Well, the issue was Ted Christopher's alleged use of illegal fuel. Now, this has happened to Teddy in the past. And I'm not going to say he did or he didn't. A, I wasn't there. B, I didn't do the fuel. And C, I'm not the fuel supplier. However, this seems to happen to TC very often. Illegal fuel. According to Ted Christopher, the fuel was purchased at the racetrack, like it always is. When they went and did the test, his fuel didn't pass. Fourth place finisher, Paul Kushiba, the fourth, was also DQ'd for illegal fuel, claiming he purchased his fuel from the same truck that TC purchased his from. Waterford Speed Bowl on big events has two fuel trucks. And when the track tested the fuel for the fuel truck, they only tested one of the trucks and not the other. Therefore, Teddy's didn't match the one truck, and so forth and so on, and he gets DQ'd. Now, according to published reports, the Speed Bowl does have two fuel trucks, and the track has only tested one truck's fuel, and therefore claiming that Ted Christopher's fuel was illegal, as well as the fourth place finisher. Now, I've been at racetracks all across North America, and the politics that go on at some of these racetracks is to the point where they're creating and manipulating outcomes. When I say they, promoters and track operators. Now think about this. Think about this from a PR point of view. You have Ryan Priest, former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour driver, moved up to the Xfinity Series, comes up north to race at your weekly track. He's got to win. He's got to win. Think about that. Ryan Priest came up there. It put fannies in the seats. The people came to see him win. Just like it was, and I'm going to say it was about 10 years ago, the modified tour was at the Waterford Speed Bowl. Doug Colby hopped in an SK-type car, wins the race. The promoter at the time came up into the tower, got on the radio, told the tech inspector to call him on his cell phone, and I heard him say, Doug Colby can't win. And they let the car sit, and they let the car sit, and all of a sudden, they measured a ride height, and it was a quarter of an inch too low because air was leaking from one of his rear tires. They needed their local guy who was battling in the points for a championship to win that race, so they took it away from Doug Colby. I'm not saying this is what happened here, but I'll tell you what, stuff like this happens. And when stuff like this happens, it's a turnoff to the fans, it's a turnoff to teams. Think about it, if you know take Ted Christopher, for instance. Ted Christopher, he's a tough competitor. And if you read certain reports about the race, he muscled past for the win. He quoted in Victory Lane, 8 wheels turned better than 4. And you know what? He's absolutely correct. Good, hard racing. I always liked good, hard racing as long as nobody was wrecked. There's nothing wrong. The sparks got to fly. Tommy Ryan once said to me, him and I were side by side, and sparks were flying. And me, I was kind of new, because I hadn't been in a figure-8 race car in about 10 years, to be able to rub wheels and Nerf bars with a guy like Tommy Ryan, and to have him come up to me and say, that was fun, rubbing wheels, sparks were flying. He goes, I finally had to pull away from you because you weren't going to let me go. And and I have the tape somewhere, and we were side by side battling, and he finally just did this just because he didn't want to cut a wheel. But you know, you see stuff like this, and it's just, to me, it's just not right. And you know, Big Bill France, when he started NASCAR and he was making his rules, and one of the things that he said, that none of my fans are going to leave the racetrack not knowing who won the event. Yeah, you may be the first to cross the line. You're going to take the pictures. You're going to get the trophy. But if we find that something's not right, we're not going to take that win away. We may hit you in the pocket. We may take some points. But the fans, the next morning when they look at the newspaper, they're going to say, yep, that's the guy. There's no surprises. But some of this stuff, some of the things that go on in these weekly tracks with this manipulation of the finishes and the outcomes is just kind of out of control. And we're going to talk about that. Next week, I have a thing I'm putting together, the top 10 controversies in NASCAR. And looking at it today and playing with it a little bit, one of them was with Tony Stewart back about 10 years or so ago when he had his own radio show, and he had talked about how, in his opinion, NASCAR did things like that, manipulated outcomes. They were like the gods, and you don't go against the gods. And you know what? I don't think Tony Stewart is totally wrong on that. I've been on all sides of the fence in NASCAR. I've been a crew guy. I've been a crew chief. I've been a driver. I've been an owner. I've been an official. And you see sometimes a lot of things that you just shake your head. And you know you can't argue, because you argue the point as a competitor, then you're the guy. Next week they're going to go after you. Next week they're going to go after you. They're going to get little things. You're not going to get the gray. Sometimes you're not going to get the black or white. But again, just my opinion on what happened at the New London Waterford Speedbowl this past weekend in the SK type modifieds. And you know, the fuel should have been checked from both fuel suppliers, and then this whole thing would have been we wouldn't have been talking about it. We wouldn't have been talking about it. But on a good note, a positive note, Ted Christopher, indoor racing's biggest 3/4 midget winner, will drive a Take-Q owned by Trey Haddock for the first of 3 indoor events at the Trenton, New Jersey's National Bank Center. That'll be the first of 3 events. And I usually and have been going to the Atlantic City event for years and years and years, with the first time being in 1977 with my good friend Bill Stockett. And when he told me they were going to race indoors, I was like, are you kidding? And I was hooked. I was hooked. And TQs are fun to drive. I have the opportunity to drive a TQ down at the Wall Township Speedway in Wall, New Jersey. And it's a feeling that, and I've driven a lot of things. I've driven modifieds, I've driven late models, street stocks, figure-8 cars, legend cars, and TQs. I never drove a demolition derby car, in case my buddy Gravel is out there. I'm sure people think I drove like I had demolition derby experience, right? 22 figure-8? And but driving a TQ was pretty fun. I don't think I'd want to do it indoors. There's just no room for error. But when you're down at the Wall Stadium, if you're on the big track, there's plenty of room. And you're on the flat track, there's no walls. The wall's way, way far. But when you're racing that thing on the big track at Wall, you know, and even though your wrist and arms are held in, you could almost do this and touch the wall if you're running the right groove. And it's fun. So, you know, it's always nice to watch Teddy Christopher ride the TQs indoors. He's always the guy to beat, always the guy to beat. Unfortunately, the last couple of times I went out there, he got wrecked and one, like he didn't qualify. I think it was last year. But anyway, it's good to see that something good has happened for TC, my good buddy from Plainfield, Connecticut. So I wish him well in that first event. It'll be in December, so looking forward to that. Also at the Wall, New London Waterford Speedbowl, Pennsylvania's Matt Hirschman took down the victory in the Tri-Track Series, pocketing $5,000. And it was also $5,000 for the SK type modifieds. So nice payoff there in the Tri-Track, which has always been a good paying event. And in some cases, the Tri-Track modifieds pay more than a NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour, which I cannot figure out, and I will not try to figure out, nor will NASCAR tell me why that is that way. But you know, it's just interesting to see when you look at other series. You look at some dirt series. You look at the World Outlaws, and you look at the Tri-Track Series. You even look at this big event at the New London Waterford Speedbowl for the SK types. $5,000 to win for an SK type car. You know, when their normal weekly purse is around $1,800. You know, that's a nice payoff. So my hats are off for these guys that started this Tri-Track Series. And from what I understand, they're going to relinquish the reins to it and let it be run by some other folks who have some good racing knowledge. I think it's just gotten so big and it's taken up a lot of time. So we're going to talk more about that next week, about the Tri-Track Series and its future and where it's going and some of the principles involved with this new leadership. I understand there's also going to be a race director who is a former race director at another weekly track. So we'll see what happens there tonight. So anyway, let's see. Long Island for Speed saying they had over 30,000 payout for the 3 Tri-Track mod. That's total purse, Kevin. That's not what the winner got. There's a big difference. Just like our local track here on Long Island, I believe the total purse for the modifieds is $10,000, but the winner's share is like $1,400. So that's all good. So it's good to see that 22 figure eight was saved. We've missed you, man. We miss you. One of the guys who never misses a race. So I know he's been busy. So anyway, but that's what's going on this past weekend up here in the Northeast. And when we come back, we'll have some talk about the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour and what happened a couple of weeks ago and where they're headed as well when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com. Village Music Shop of Mastic, 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, welcome back. Before I get into the NASCAR Wheel and Modified thing, just scrolling through the chat room, there are two types of fuel run at the New London Waterford Speedboat, a 110 octane and a 115. But there are two separate and distinct pit areas. There's the pit area behind turns 1 and 2, and there's the pit area behind turn 3. And there were, from my understanding, 2 fuel trucks in each of those sections. Because of that, because one truck is 110 octane and one truck is 115. So you can't mix them in the same truck, because then you'd have like 112 and a half, if I did the math right. So that's where that is. Anyway, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour wrapped up its season 2 weeks ago at the Thompson Motorsports Park up in Thompson, Connecticut. And Doug Coby's 6th place finish at the Thompson Motorsports Park secured the 2016 championship honors, which is his 4th championship in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour of his career, his 4th championship. Nobody's won 4 championships in the tour as we know it. Watching the event on TV, there was a lot of talk by the announcers about Doug Coby and his Hall of Fame stats. Now, he's a young guy. I'm thinking talking Hall of Fame is a little premature. However, nobody in the tour, since the tour's inception in 1985, has as many championships as Doug Coby has. And also, if you go back to the Richie Evans, the later Richie Evans, Jerry Cook, the late Charlie Jazombek, when it was wherever you raced, you modified, you got points. It was a whole different thing. It wasn't a touring series that was under a blanket, so to speak. When that started in 1985 with Jerry Cook at the helm as the series director, that all changed. And then Featherlight came on board for a long time as their title sponsor. Now Wheeling Engineering has been the title sponsor, and they will be for quite a number of years. With the Vice President of Motorsports Marketing at Wheeling, Phil Kurz, who is not only big into modifieds, but big into racing. And his brand is synonymous with racing now, with Wheeling emergency lighting on all the tracks. You know, you watch these races and you see on top of the light it says Wheeling, and these are the lights that they put in fire trucks, police cars, things like that. And the racing division has gotten so big. But Doug Coby, a champion. And Justin Bonsignore did all he had to do on his end. He had to win. And Justin Bonsignore of Holbrook, Long Island, he took down that win, but it cost him the championship. He lost the championship to Doug Coby. Doug Coby had to finish 16th or worse. And so Justin did his part. He needed a little help to win that championship. But watching his victory lane speech, Justin, yeah, he won that event, but he was very disappointed that he didn't get the big picture, the big prize, the championship. And you know what? I've never been in that position, you know, in racing where it's within reach. It's right there. You could taste it. And you look back, you know, when you have a season like that, and let me tell you something, Justin Bonsignore had an awesome season. Second in the points, and I believe he had 4 victories. But he never how do I put this? Not that he should not. You can't look back and say, man, just think, I lost by this, man. Lost this thing by, just a few points here. 12, I think it was 12 points shy of the championship. And, and think about that. There's 15 events. If he finished one spot better in every one of those races, he would have won the championship by 3. And I know he's going to beat himself up all off season thinking about that. If he led a couple more laps and a couple more events, it's all those things. As Ray Evans said, he was announcing the event. He said, when you look back and look at your season, and you're going to say, well, we had a part failure at Bristol. We had this problem at this track, and it's going to make a whole big difference. But here is Justin Bonsignore in victory lane. He's not happy. You can see this. I've known Justin since he's like 5 years old, 6 years old. He was visibly disappointed that he didn't win the championship, and not that he didn't win the championship. His team didn't win the championship. His car owner didn't win the championship. They work very hard at what they do. And I know his owner, Kenny Mass, I know him for quite some time as well. He's done everything you possibly can do to put his team in place to win a championship. And to come that close and yet not get it. It's kind of sad. And like Justin, he said, I'm happy to be in victory lane, but I'm very disappointed that I didn't win the championship. And maybe that'll change during the week. This is a big win, but we didn't win the championship. And it's a tough break. It's a tough thing. When you look at the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour now, as opposed to maybe 10, 12 years ago, when you look at it now, there's 24, 25, 26 cars that competes, I'll say regularly. There's 20, in my opinion, that could win on any given day. On any given day. 10, 12 years ago, there were 50 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour cars that showed up at an event. And sometimes making the show was like a win for these guys, where 0.2 of a second, which is a burp, is the difference between pole or home back then. 65 cars showed up one Saturday morning for this tour race at Riverhead. 65 cars. They were starting 28. They sent home 37 cars. One of them, and I remember this, the past champion, Jamie Tomeno, got bumped out of a spot due to a past champion's provisional, which was taken by former champion Wayne Anderson. Jamie Tomeno was so upset over that at the time, and he did a lot of screaming. He goes, I'm supporting this year. I haven't missed a race, and he was right in what he was saying. And it didn't fall on deaf ears, because the following week, a rule addendum, just in time to be too late, came out and said that in order to use a past champion's provisional, you had to complete in so many races that season, just in time to be too late. So when you look at the tour of 10, 12 years ago and the tour of now, I think it's just as competitive. However, nobody's having those nights where they didn't make the show and they didn't get a provisional either. Everybody that's showing up is starting. Maybe there's 1 or 2 cars that, maybe should be in another series. I don't know. I'm not there. But, I'm not going to lie. I was rooting for Justin. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I was rooting for Justin. I know the kid. I know the family. He was, not only a guest was he of mine on this show, there was a show that I had 10 years ago with Jeff Buster and the late Ricky Miller, where Justin was just a little kid, and he was on as a guest on that show as well. And he was fighting for a go-kart championship, which to some of you that might not mean a thing, but it's just as big as winning a championship in the local division at your local racetrack. So anyway, that's what happened with us. But congratulations to Doug Kobe, his car owner Mike Smiglio, and the whole entire MS3 race team. I know those guys, and I know them very well. And I can remember going up to Phil Moran, the crew chief. He's been Mike Smiglio's crew chief for years, and when Todd Zegedy won championships with the 2-car. And the young kid that I knew from Long Island was showing up to run at Thompson for his first tour race, and him and his dad, and they were struggling. They were struggling. And I went up to Phil. Their car was all set on jack stands. They were ready to rock and roll. And I went up to Phil Moran and said, Phil, I'm coming to you as a friend, not as an official, as a friend. And he goes, Joe, what's up? I said, this kid over here from Long Island, he's a good friend of mine. And his family, they're good friends of mine. And he's struggling. Walk by there and give him some advice. He goes, for you, I'll do that. So they make sure he's done with his stuff. He goes over to the car, and he's talking to the driver's dad, and they're talking. And he grabbed a wrench, and he tweaked this and turned that and told him to do this and do that. And the kid goes out and sets fast time. And nobody believed he could set fast time. They were checking the timer equipment. The magical hot dog wrapper flew in front of the timer light. That's why he set fast time. But he won out, and he did well. And then what the kid did is he came up to us in the office and said, listen, these guys are fighting for a championship. I'm going to roll to the back. I don't want to get in anybody's way. And that kid was Mike Andrews. And his dad was Mike Andrews Sr., as we call him. We knew him as Rudy. That was his real name. And they ended up tour racing for a little while. And those are the things you do. And Phil Moran and I were in the racing world, we're good friends. And I was happy to see him help a fellow competitor. That's the type of team MS3 is. You're going to help a fellow competitor to make them better. And if it wasn't for Phil that day, Mike Andrews would have probably went home, been discouraged about the tour, and went on to do whatever he was going to do. But then he ended up getting a ride with a top-notch team, ran a few races, team had 2 cars, things happened, they were down to 1. A champion driver became available, and the kid was out of his ride. But you got to remember, racing's a business, and that's what you need to do sometimes. Understand that racing is a business. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have some talk and discussion about Talladega, one of my bucket list racetracks, and some of the stuff that I want to, and talk about the big one that never came when we come back.
Hi, my name is Aaron from Real Big Fish,
And I'm Ed from Real Big Fish.
and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
The time has come. Are you ready? Spooky Walk at Camp Aquatic is back and scarier than ever. Tickets are $20 at the gate, with all proceeds supporting the camp. Visit SpookyWalk.com. Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the. But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Talladega, the place where everybody waits for the big one, the big wreck, side by side, body panel to body panel. Because you can't say door handle to door handle anymore. They don't have door handle. It's a decal, but wheel to wheel, inches apart, side drafting. I mean, wow, there's nothing better. I actually watched most of that race Saturday and Sunday, the truck race and the Sprint Cup Series race. The Xfinity Series was off. They will be at the Texas Motor Speedway on Saturday, November 5th. And but the trucks at Talladega, just to me, is like the trucks at Daytona. Too big, too fast, too much happening. And the truck series, they had their big ones a couple of times, plural. But it's tough. I drove a Super Pro truck, which is it's not anywhere near speed and horsepower as a Camping World Truck Series truck. However, it's the same body styles. And you have a lot of blind spots. No matter how you turn your mirrors or whatever, you have a lot of blind spots. And when you're riding side by side, 3 wide, in some cases 4 wide at 160, 170, 80, 180 miles an hour, you do that at that speed. Think about this, that if you're going 100 feet a second at 60 miles an hour, you're going the length of a football field at 180 miles an hour in a second. Now, that's a lot of distance to travel in such a short period of time. So, the hole opens, or at least you think it does, and you go to take it, and it closes right up, and they're running so tight, you're gonna be binging and banging, and who's in the fence, who's in the grass, and it's just, I'm thankful nobody gets seriously injured at these places, because these cars are just that safe today. You're in a cocoon. These seats they have today, you're not moving. You look at the development of the race seat as we knew it, like when people first started when NASCAR first started, the 40s and 50s, it was the bench seat out of the car that you just took out of the showroom. And that changed to a bucket seat, and that changed to somebody putting a plate on the side so they weren't sliding in the seat, and that turned to a seat that wrapped around their ribs, so to speak. And it took a long time in the evolution of seats, race seats, to change that. I remember sitting through a safety seminar, and the guy giving it was talking about seats and talking about how we're going to change the seat. He said, think about it. If you're going to knock a door down, something happens, you got to break into your house, break into your bedroom, take the bathroom door down, whatever. You don't lift up your arms and go into it with your ribs. You go into it with your shoulders. So next thing you know is the rib thing got a little smaller, and it came around your arms, and you were kind of in pretty good, but you could still do this, and you could still do this. And then the Hans device, first the Hutchins device, then the Hans device, and now there's all kinds of different Hans devices now. And the way the seats are, once you put your helmet, there's the foaming, your head, you're not doing it. You're not moving in your seat. Years ago, more guys got injured from their necks bouncing around and broken necks and head trauma than anything else. And that's been taken away. You look at, Bobby Allison's crash at Pocono, and where he took down the catch fence way back in the 80s. His head banged and hit everything. And he's never been the same since. Now you see wrecks like that, and you're like, whoa. And the guy just gets out, takes off his helmet, and I'm good. And, he's pretty sore, but there's no head trauma. But anyway, getting back to what I was really talking about, I don't know if the trucks belong at tracks like Daytona, Talladega, Michigan, or Atlanta. It's just too fast. It's just too doggone fast, you know, for these truck guys. Put them on mile and a half or less. Tony Stewart's track, and it's a fine place to run trucks with those different tires. That's where they should be. And, you know, and again, talking about seat evolution, 22 figure, his first seat was a fiberglass seat. And the guy was a lot smaller than him. And he cut it, as he says here in the chat room, he cut it to fit him. One of my first seats, believe it or not, was a barrel. It was a barrel that got cut to look like a seat with a seat cover over it. That was my first seat. And then the first time I drove in a seat that was like a real seat, I was like, whoa, what a difference. I feel like I'm sitting in a dentist chair. You know, you're all comfy, you're sitting there. You know, seats have come a long way. And then there's this SFI seat that the Touring Series, the top 3 and the modifieds and the K&N have gone to. It's a fine evolution of seating. A lot of people, what's wrong with the seat we had? Let's not wait and find out. We have an opportunity to try this new seat. Let's do it, and it's worked. But Talladega, it's a fast place, and it's big, 2.66 miles, bigger than Daytona, 33-degree bankings, 3 stories high from the top of the wall to the apron. That's fast. You got to go like 85 where you slide off it. But anyway, the truck results went like this. Grant Enfinger was the winner there, followed by Spencer Gallagher. Timothy Peters was 3rd. Rico Abreu, 4th. Ben Kennedy, 5th. Christopher Bell was 6th. Johnny Sorda, 7th. Ryan Tolley was 8th. Matt Tift, 9th. Ryan Truex, I'm sorry, was 8th. Matt Tift, 9th. William Byron rounding out the top 10. Cole Custer was on the pole. He had an accident taking him out early in the event. And the trucks have 2 events left. Martinsville, which is this weekend, one of my favorite racetracks. And then the finale at Homestead, Miami, Florida, to determine who is going to be the champion in the Camper World Truck Series. Martinsville. First time I saw the trucks at Martinsville, I was in awe of them. I was like, what a difference. You know, up until that time, I had only seen the Camper World Truck Series on TV at the larger tracks. And watching them run Martinsville, 0.533, a little over a half mile, a little bit over a half mile, with the curbs on the inside turns, 4-inch curves until they repaved the track. Now it's like 3 inches. And watching the race, it was like watching a race at my home track. I was like, these guys are pushing each other out of the way. They're banging into the corners, pushing people out, bumping them, pushing them, shoving them. I was like, this is good racing. And the best part about Martinsville Speedway, and I'm going to say this every chance I can that I'm reminded, Martinsville Speedway and the president of Martinsville Speedway, Clay Campbell, he doesn't charge a fortune to get into this. He treats his fans like they're his friends. And when I say this, I can remember I had tickets to the truck race and the Sprint Cup Series race one year, and I couldn't go. I just couldn't go, and I was trying to sell the tickets, give the tickets, do something with them, and I finally found somebody, a husband and wife, they said, we'll take those tickets. I says, all right, I got Saturday and I got Sunday. The Saturday is the truck, Sunday is the Sprint Cup Series, but you want to be there for like Friday for qualifying. And they're like, all right, what do I owe you? So I said, well, it's $97 for 2 tickets one day, so it'll be like, you know, like $194 for the weekend. Yeah, but I want to go to the truck race. That is the truck race. And what are these like, seats in like the worst seats in the place? No, they're like right against the columns that hold up the press box at the start-finish line. And now they were a little skeptical. Wait a minute, oh, I go to Daytona, it's like $400. I go to this track, it's like $300. Are you sure? I said, look, I'm telling you, if you're disappointed, I'll give you your money back. And they could not believe it because that speedway, Clay Campbell, his father had owned that speedway for years and years and years. They sold out the International Speedway Corp. Clay Campbell stayed on as president. Even the community, there's no price gouging. The restaurants don't have all of a sudden the special race menu, and they double the prices and give you smaller portions. The hotels don't price gouge on the rooms. They may be a little bit, but they don't gouge you. They don't, you know, the room that's $79 in Daytona on the week before the 500 is $500 a night the week of Daytona. Same room. And they even shut off the ice machine in one of the places and said it's broken. But they would sell you bags of ice. You know, he doesn't allow that. He's on the local Chamber of Commerce. They work very well together. They make money. They race twice a year, and the fans keep coming back. So Martinsville, my favorite place. I love it. Drove the pace car at Martinsville a few years back, and I'll tell you a quick little story. It was 95 degrees all day. We're at the track from sun up. It was a night race, so we're there a long time. You're tired. You know, you're like, it's a long drawn-out day. It's hot. It's humid. And here I am. I'm sitting in the pace car, tucked in the little alcove in turn 2. The air conditioner is going. It's so comfy. I'm just sitting back. And all I could see of the race is the cars coming off of turn 2, going by, and you get lulled into that, and I'm like this, and I'm like this. Next thing I hear on the radio, never mind, Joe, you'll get him next time. I see we're on the yellow, and the whole field is going by me. A buddy of mine took a picture. I was sound asleep in the pace car. But it's just one of those things. I could fall asleep anyway. But anyway, my favorite place, Martinsville. But, you know, the truck series, they got 2 more events left. They're going to pick a winner. And I'll tell you what, it's going to come down to who's ever got the most luck that day. Just like with anything. Whoever has the most luck that day. And when you look at the top 10 in points, I mean, they're not all in the sprint, in the sprint thing, in the chase. But any one of the 4 guys that are in the chase currently, or 6 guys, they each have a shot at winning this thing. And, you know, for a long time, this series was for the guys who were on their way down from the other 2 series. They just wanted to race a little bit. And then some of the teams used that. You know, they instead of going right into Xfinity or Nationwide, as it was called at the time, they put them in a truck. Now it's time, because nobody stayed in this series for a long time. Now you have some guys that have been here for a while, and there you have, you know, the competition has gotten such that the racing has gotten a lot better. And I can remember the trucks when they first started, when they were the True Value series in NASCAR. You know, and these guys were they were trying to make a name for them. They were tearing up equipment. They were having competition yellows to calm them down. It was just not good. But there's good competitive racing in the truck series. And I'm just not thinking they need to be at Talladega. Anyway. Yes, Sprint Cup Series, the Sprint Cup Series. They were at Talladega. And as we all sat back waiting for the big one, those at home and those who were live, the big one never came. And when you look at some of the racing that went on there, and I'll tell you what, you know, you look at this finish, and some of these people are going to say, wow, how did they get up there? I guess if you didn't watch it, you can say, well, it must have been a big one. Look at this. These guys don't even belong in the top 10. But the finish went like this. Joey Logano was the winner, which is very surprising because he had to stop on pit road because he left pit road with the jack jammed under the car and drove around the racetrack a little bit and still went out and won the race. Richard Petty Motorsports. Brian Scott, the best finish of his career, finished in 2nd. Denny Hamlin 3rd. Kurt Busch was 4th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another name you didn't think you'd see in the top 5 at Talladega, 5th. Kyle Larson 6th. Kevin Harvick 7th. Eric Almirola, another guy you didn't expect to see him in the top 10. Austin Dillon 9th, and A.J. Allmendinger rounding out the top 10. The pole went to Martin Truex Jr., who had a disappointing 40th place finish, taking him out of the chase with engine failure early on lap 41. The 8 drivers in the Sprint Cup Series who will advance to the next part of the chase is Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Busch. Now, any of those 8 guys, depending on what's going to happen at Martinsville coming up, any one of those 8 guys can go into Homestead. Well, there'll be 4 guys in Homestead, but after the next event, it'll be down to 4. But this is going to be tough. Think about it. Joey Logano, when the money's on, this kid seems to make it happen. Jimmy Johnson, listen, you don't get 7 championships. You don't get 7 championships by being a flounder. This guy's good. And, of course, Hendrick Motorsports, it speaks for itself. Harvick, man, the guy's a winner. Kenseth, a winner. Carl Edwards, man, when he was with Roush, he did some good things. Denny Hamlin, another guy, he's always right there. Joe Gibbs Racing, and the Busch brothers. Those guys can make it happen. Those guys can make it happen. And I'm trying to stay focused, and I look up at it with my right eye, and I see my buddy 22 figure 8 getting his little digs in. I'm loving it. Anyway, Talladega. Martin Truex, he won the pole. However, NASCAR confiscated the left front jack bolt from the team during pre-qualifying inspection. The part will be inspected at NASCAR's R&D Center in Concord, North Carolina. Crew Chief Cole Peters said, or Perron was quoted as saying, the part was the wrong size. It was a mistake. It happens. But nothing happens, in racing by accident like that. Maybe on the track. But you're preparing multiple race cars week after week, year after year. You know what size bolt has to go on there. But as NASCAR was quoted as saying that this part was not a competitive ingredient for the car. However, it was not right. Now, there's been a couple of issues during this chase where some guys parts were confiscated and they failed post-race tech and all of that kind of good stuff. And no points were taken because of the impact on the chase. However, with now Martin Truex Jr. out of the chase, key phrase, out of the chase, watch to be a 5 or a 10-point penalty assessed. Watch for his crew chief to be having to make a little donation, write a check, give it to NASCAR, because it's not going to affect the outcome of the chase. The best position that Martin Truex can be in at the end of the season is 9th. Yeah, could he end up 10th if they take some points away? Absolutely. He'll still be in the top 10 in points. However, the difference in the point fund payout between 9th and 10th is a lot of money. And NASCAR used to publish that. NASCAR used to publish in the finish that race paid $203,781.72, with all the contingency prize and all that other nonsense. And I can remember watching the Sprint Cup Series banquets, and they would name a driver, make up a guy named Goggles Paisano, finished 7th in the points, earning $2,387,000. And I think they just stopped doing that because people think that's what the driver got, and they're like, wow, maybe I should go into racing. Or maybe the taxman's saying, well, we need to take a closer look at what's going on here. Well, people are saying, he made that much? No wonder why tickets prices are so high. So I think that's why they stopped doing that, just because of that. Even you look in the newspaper, they used to put, when they put the finishes in your local newspaper, they put how much the driver won. They don't show that. Now they have like these other things that they show, but they don't show that. So, I don't know. But anyway, tomorrow's the competition meeting. They do it on Tuesday. I think Wednesday an announcement will be made, if not Tuesday night, that Martin Truex Jr. will be penalized points. His crew chief will be fined some money because it's not going to affect the chase. The people are going to say, no, it's inconsistent. Why did they do it? I'm going to say it again, because it's not going to affect the chase. Anyway. Yes. Oh, yes. One more thing before we take a quick break. Martinsville. Jeff Gordon will be in the 88 car for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Summit. Jeff has some good runs at Martinsville. And speaking of Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was walking around the track at Talladega. He did a lot of talking in the booth, in the TV booth. He looked good, but all of a sudden he has glasses. Maybe I don't remember him ever wearing glasses. He's wearing glasses. So his post-concussion syndrome or his concussion, maybe it's affected his eyesight. I know they keep putting him in simulators and trying to get his timing and everything right, but your eyesight's got to be like really good. It's got to be golden. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we'll start wrapping up when we come back.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The time has come. Are you ready? Spooky Walk at Camp Aquatic is back and scarier than ever. Tickets are $20 at the gate, with all proceeds supporting the camp. Visit SpookyWalk.com.
It's Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, just scrolling through the chat a little bit, going through. In a published report at Race State Connecticut had spoken to the owners and operators and head officials of the New London Waterford Speedway, and they confirmed, according to Race State Connecticut, there were 2 separate, distinct fuel trucks at the racetrack. Also, the year that the Long Island's Riverhead Raceway had over 60 cars was 2003 and 2004. You can look it up. Okay, next week, Halloween. We will be here. It's a holiday for some. It's not how I don't trick or treat anymore. I'm not like a little kid. I'm gonna be missed out. However, if if I have time, I'm probably gonna dress up as something, and probably have a guest who's gonna dress up as something, and just maybe, you guys and gals could figure out who is who. And if you figure it out, we will give you an Inravio.com t-shirt. I'm getting the yes from the boss, yeah. All right, so check that out. Check us out next weekend. We're gonna have some fun. It's Halloween, so I'm gonna have some fun with next week's show. So it'll be interesting. Halloween. I remember once when I was in 6th grade, I dressed up as a race car driver. And a lot of people think I still dressed up as a race car driver when I was racing, because I really wasn't a race car driver, but I had fun doing it. But I dressed up as a race car driver, and I took my football helmet and I drilled the face mask off of it, and I took my extra speedway racing coats and put it on, and I had a steer wheel from an old car my grandfather had given me the steer wheel from, and I trick-or-treated with this steer wheel and racing and goggles, and I had a lot of fun with it. You know, unfortunately, there weren't phones. You could just go, oh, take pictures, you know, like today. But I wish I had a picture of that. That would have been pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, we got some good stuff planned coming up. Mike V-Rod, Van Houten, V-Rod, 3V INEX driver here on Long Island and other places. Is scheduled to appear as a future guest coming up. Vinny Delaney, the INEX champion, is also planning to stop in and visit. And also, I think on Long Island Need for Speed is here, Sal Accardi Jr. We're going to get him down here and talk about the second generation driver, who, by the way, when we spoke to his dad, Sal Accardi Sr., on a show here a couple of years back, and while his dad was in a hospital bed, and we just talked about racing for like the whole show, and with that, and Sal Jr. was in the room with his dad holding a phone for him, and when the show was on, we were done, we were wrapping it up. Sal Sr., got all emotional, and he said, "Thanks for remembering us old guys." And I'll tell you what, when I went to the Hymes Museum and talked to some of these guys, they're like, "You remember me? Wow." And they get so excited with it. So, but if Sal's back in the seat again, driving around and trying to make it happen, not having such good luck in his return, but it'll come, and we'll have him on it as well. We're also gonna have Ted Christopher give us a shout and call into us because a little far from Plainville, Connecticut. We might even Skype him in as well and talk about some of the things that he's doing and his plans for the three-quarter midget, the TQ as we call them. So we got a lot planned for the next, I would say, 8 to 12 shows, and we'll have some fun with that. So again, next week it's Halloween, and if you can figure out who's who, we'll send you that shirt. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up right now, and I want to thank everybody for being a part of the 505 on Racing Show here in Inravio TV. I would thank everybody. I know everybody has a busy schedule and work obligations and all of that kind of stuff, making dinner for your husband or whatever. But thank you. Thank you for taking that hour to be here with us. And I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers on the losing of my aunt, who was the matriarch of our family. And I thank you for that as well. So anyway, wherever your endeavors are going to take you this week, I ask you to be safe, be careful, give somebody a hug, tell them you love them, God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.